icon which is present below the video so that we can keep you updated.
Okay, all set.
Welcome to International Longevity Center India. Thank you for using our official YouTube channel.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Yashoda, and I welcome you all in this national level online webinar series organized by the International Longevity Center India with the CSR support of Gharda Chemicals Ltd. Considering the resurge of pandemic and restrictions on social gatherings, LCI has decided to go into online mode like before. So we are starting this short webinar series focused on various topics. Today's topic is leaving will for senior citizens, which you know how important it is to discuss and with the expert. So we are lucky to have today with us Dr. Rohini Patwardhan, who is a senior gerontologist and has been working in this field for many years. Welcome, ma'am. I will now introduce her to you and then we will begin the session. Dr. Rohini Patwardhan has done her doctorate in the management of old age homes from Pune University. She was a professor and principal of MINDS MIT Junior College, Pune. She has more than 40 years of teaching experience. Along with the gerontology and teaching, she has experience of working in the domain of management and journalism. She is the founder of Sun World, an institute specially designed for the older adults to learn new possibilities in the old age. It is an old age home in Pune, and more than 40 senior citizens are staying in there. She is the author of book Aple Aparnath, which has gained popularity and is useful for all generations. She has been awarded many prestigious awards like Vasalya Puraskar for taking care of the elderly, Pranam Seniors Puraskar by the Times of India Group in 2016, and another one from Bharatiya Stri Shakti Puraskar. Thank you, ma'am, for being here with us today. And now I request to please begin the session. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
At the outset, I would like to thank ILCI for giving me the opportunity to share my views on very important topic regarding end of life. And the topic now, as we know, living will for seniors, a detailed perspective. So now I can begin the talk on this important topic. Living will is a concept which is connected with the medical treatment which is to be given to a senior at the end of his life. So this is very topic. This topic is very relevant to today's situation, and that's why everyone should know the procedure as well as the practical aspect of living will. Whenever we utter the word will, it automatically adds one more word along with the will, and that is death. Let it be the will regarding your property or regarding your medical treatment, but the base is, of course, towards your end of life. Many of us may not be knowing that there is such type of document which is known as living will. So, do you know that you can make a will not merely for the property but also for your end of life decisions when you become comatic or not in a state to express your desire. So two conditions. First is it is not the will which is regarding to the property only, but it is regarding to your life, dignity or life, or what type of decisions should be taken in case of your health, in case you are not able to express your desire. Now we'll go into detail what is living will, and then we'll also know the actual process of doing living will. Living will is intended to make your wishes know what type of medical treatment you want or you don't want. It is two-way, that whatever you would like to use medical intervention in regarding your way, regarding your death, or what you don't want. So it is a very important but a different document which one can make if he thinks of his death, and particularly regarding the dignity of one's death. Why this will is to be prepared? Because it helps the doctors to make the decision for you and make clear your wishes to donate your organs. Here, the most important thing is it is not only regarding your treatment when you fell ill, but it is also regarding fulfilling your wishes after your death. Like if you want to donate your organs or full body, your eyes, skin, tissues, so many ways you can be use of other persons after your death, and that is very important that you should express your will regarding what you have in mind regarding your last days of life. Now, we can say that dignity of life, no doubt, is how you live, what you think, what are your value systems, what things you find it valuable, but it also includes dignity at the time of death also. Because if you are there and if you are bedridden for a much longer period, then naturally your quality of life is definitely affected. So if you don't want that such thing to happen, then of course you can decide what type of treatment you want or you don't want. Here I would like to mention few things. There is a misconception about euthanasia and intentionally ending the life to relieve the pain and suffering. That means it is something which is forced. It is something which is done with intention to end the life. And particularly, the main purpose is when the pain is unbearable, there are no chances of relieving the pain. All medicines have been used, and suffering is endless, and it is very, 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 very painful, taking away the quality of life of a person. So it can be euthanasia is intentionally ending, but here the most important thing is euthanasia is not allowed. There is no legal standing for euthanasia, not only in India, but if you consider the entire world, then you will find that very rarely there is legal standing for euthanasia. Whereas living will is the statement detailing the person's desire. Living wills are there in many of the cases. It is also known as advanced medical directives, and it has some legal standing. So it is a statement detailing the person's desire regarding future medical treatment. That is the most important part of this statement regarding future medical treatment. When we can think of future medical treatment, when you start thinking about your death, then only you can think of future medical treatment, where what you want or what you don't want. Many a times we are afraid of even thinking about death. Many a times what we want, we ourselves are not aware. So for living will, the first stage, of course, has to be the thought should come into your mind that in future, if there are certain conditions, then what medical treatment should be given or not to be given. So at this stage, it is very important that the person should have the uh, thought in his mind that he wants this type of medical treatment or other type of medical treatment, and when or why to write it down, because under such circumstances, when person is no longer able to express his consent or his wish, or then only it can be used, and that is why it is also known as advanced medical directives. At this point, I would like to mention few things. Whenever I uttered the word living will, then in that case, I remember the most respected person in my life, which has ignited me about this thought, and that is of Vidya Taibal, a very senior social activist, and she very particularly in detail have given thought to this concept, and that is why I pay honor to her, and I would like to express my gratitude about such a respectable person, that I had a chance to discuss all details with her, and it has helped me to clear my ideas about living will. A coincidence may be that tomorrow there will be 2 years death anniversary of Vidya Taiban. And the occasion on which I am now presenting this to you all has given me the feeling that this entire webinar to be dedicated in her memory, because she has reluctantly worked in the field of Ichhamaran, mostly euthanasia, and also in the field of living will. Now, before we start the actual process or detailing about living will, I would like to share my I would like to share my experience when I conduct active aging workshop. Active aging workshops I have conducted for say 8 to 10 batches, and I used to use the technique of participative training. So in that participative training, there is one activity which is known as a piece of paper is given to every participant, and a piece of paper is given to each participant, and each participant on which there is a picture painted of your birthday cake. And I used to explain them that this is your birthday cake, and assume that God is going to fulfill your wish, whatever wish you make today. It was very interesting activity, and to my surprise, and in a way, a very, we can say, positive feedback, that out of all participants, 80% of them would say, can you imagine what? They say that they mentioned, they write it down very in very clear words, and they used to mention that we want peaceful death, without any artificial supplement to prolong our lives. That means this will is the wish of this will is in the mind of every senior person, and that is why it is important to know the detailed process about content, about the what it should be included, whether it is possible to fulfill or not, all these cases. So we will start now the process of writing living will. So first, if I want to specify that what is to be done, I am too sick to communicate. Of course, the most natural thing is you write either a living will, or in other words, you can write instructions. Now here the most important aspect of writing a living will is a must, because sometimes what happen in a family, wherever there are such points, we keep on discussing that I want this type of I don't want to have prolonged illness, I don't want to have take use of artificial respirators or something, but it is limited only to talking on that topic, maybe frequently, but at that time, who may be around you, maybe one or two person, who may be around you may not be your close ones who are going to take the decision. It can be a very informal talk with your friends or in a small group. But how your wish is to be made known to all, particularly those who will be taking decision in case of there is need. So first and most important thing is it is a written document. And what are the basic contents? Instructions describing the treatment you want. Why you want to write it down? When you cannot make the decision yourself. Naturally, when you are hospitalized, when your mental state may not be good, you may be suffering from some other ailment. So in that case, if you cannot make the decision yourself, then it has to be some guidelines to be should be there, so that others can take decision for you. And that's why you can remember that first it should be a written document, and secondly it has to be known to other people, and for that purpose you have to write it in very detailed manner. I say that I owe so much to late Vidyataiba, and that's why again I'll insist that a living will, first of all, is not a part of your will. Now, part of your will means it is regarding your property, belongings, movable, immovable, your personal properties, what you get from your mother, that everything is in, and it effect will be only after your death. And that is also, it is the matter of just distribution, not of taking decision. So living will and other wills has basic difference, that in case of property will, its decision is taken and only the formalities are remain. But in case of living will, it is a separate document that lets your family members, particularly family members, know what type of care you do. This can be mentioned, and you don't want to receive if you become terminally ill. So 2 points again here. The first is what type of treatment you have to think of first, and which are to be given, which treatment is to be given and which treatment is not to be given, that you have to differentiate. And it is not a simple thing, but it is a process. One more important thing is writing a living will is not the action. It is a process of writing so many things. It is a process of thinking each and every aspect of your life. It is the process of thinking of your family. It is the process of thinking about what others will say. So it is a process, it is a serious process, it is mentally challenging process, but still it is of course advisable that one should go through after a certain age or after certain medical experiences. So it will be useful only when you become terminally ill or comatic. But for other normal routines, you are free to get the treatment and you will get whatever you want to. So it is a process and it is different than your normal will of your property. The most important thing, as I have mentioned, that it becomes effective only when you cannot express your wishes. If sometimes doctors also will vouch for that, if even at the time of admitting into hospital we say that no, I don't want this, I am not interested, let me take home and all these things, but after certain time, after certain days, it is a human nature that you may feel that I should be given treatment, particularly in A case, B case, or under one circumstances, other circumstances. So in that case, the only important factor is only when you are not able to express the wishes, then only it living will come into practice. The family members are more important. And when I say family, I consider extended family also, because friends also are as good as our family members. And one and the most important factor of living will is your doctors. Your doctors should know that what type of treatment you should receive, what type of treatment you want to receive. Otherwise, it will be of no use. So in that case, first it has to be signed, and the doctors will have the signed copy of your living will. Now, what are the details you should mention? You can describe the quality of life you want. Now, the word quality of life, that means the way in which you have spent your life and the way in which you would like to end your life. That means if, say, for first few more days, people keep on inquiring that how is she, whether she is having oxygen or whether she is having some treatment or not. After certain period, we all have experience that people also stop asking that how is she, whether she is improving, or and you are left on alone. Maybe close ones are by shift, they are with you, but that is not the quality of life you would like to live. So if you want to maintain your quality of life, then you have to be very specific that how long you will be on ventilator, or whether to start it or not, whether to have a feeding tube or not, or such type of things are very important, because once the ventilator is has started, or once the feeding tube is installed, then decision to stop it becomes very difficult, challenging, and sometimes people become helpless, because once the treatment is started, then at the point, if we need to say that I don't want this treatment, or if family members have to say that please stop this treatment, that moment is very challenging moment. And that's why it is better if you think of all the details in detail regarding your health, and then only you include all these factors into your living will. Now, the interesting question, of course, that will that guarantee my wishes will be followed? To be frank, even if you have written down in detail, then how can we guarantee that it will be fulfilled? Because after all, your close ones are going to take the decision, your near ones are going to take the decision. And when time comes to take the decision, what will be the situation, what will be the state of mind of your loved one. You just can't imagine, and they also can't imagine. So though we say that it is useful, or it has to be written into detail, but the clear answer, logical answer, is not necessarily. You cannot be sure that your wishes will be followed or respected, because, say, for example, at the age of 70, you have made a living will in which you have mentioned the possibilities of uh, extending your life depending upon the conditions, medical conditions at that time, which you know. But when the time comes, it can be after 10 years, it can be after 15 years, it can be even after 20 years, when your living will is to be put into action, then how can one say that whatever we have written 10 years back, 20 years back is relevant today? So in that case, if technology has developed and new methods have come up, then maybe that you make it some treatment, some sort of treatment, but it is like ifs and buts. But typically, documents, if it is not thought in detail, sometimes we describe it in only vague statements that we don't want to prolong with artificial mechanism. But such decisions, such as dialysis, there is, if need to start the dialysis. As we all know, that once the dialysis has started, then the duration automatically day by day is lessened, and it can keep you, it can be used by your loved one for any number of days. So it is better if you think of such details, that whether should we get dialysis or whether blood transfusion is necessary, then whether to transfusion is done, how many times or when. That if you have not mentioned, then there are chances that it is difficult to take the decision for your loved ones, and that's why your guarantee or whatever you have written down may not be followed by your loved ones or by your son or daughter or whoever is in charge to take the decision. And but in a way, more or less, uh, if you have mentioned it in detail, then the chances are more, that can we say. And as I have mentioned earlier, that however all statement, all your living will has included all the details, but sometimes it becomes really, really very, very emotional scenario when to say that no, stop the treatment, no, don't start the treatment. It is really very challenging, and there are chances of creating a very strong feeling of guilt in the minds of our son or daughter or whoever may be executor, that I have mentioned that stop it, I have mentioned that don't start it, and it becomes very, very challenging situation. Sometimes, particularly nowadays, as we know, that many of our many of sons and daughters of many persons are not living with them for a longer period. Usually at initial stages they used to visit once a year, once a 2 year, but thereafter it becomes a routine, and we also are not very keen to go there, they also are not very keen to come over here. And it is only the time when the last days come, then suddenly the traffic increases. And under such circumstances, the person who is taking care of your his or her father, and the person who was abroad for a quite long period, having very weak emotional ties, and when the time comes, he may think that it is just a matter of money, and just because you don't want to spend on your father or mother, you are taking the decision. And there were cases, legal cases, when one takes the decision and other says that no, you have taken a wrong decision. So there are such circumstances, and it is part of our life that we have to accept. But in a way, generally, if we can say that mostly, generally, uh, very rarely it has been not honored, but nearly patients' written wishes are considered as a proof, and generally the wishes are expressed through their executors, and then there are chances that your wishes will be fulfilled. I have experience of many, many cases, and I have consulted many people. I used to conduct the workshop of how to make living will, 3 hours workshop, in which I used to explain, and people also used to share their experiences with other their relatives, and that's why it is very important to go step by step, and as well as be serious before you write down what you want, and make sure that whatever are your wishes you have to share with all your people. Now, one more legal necessity we can say, that this decision i- is having far more effects than one can consider. That's why it has to be very cautiously written down, very cautiously thought of, and very, very, very particularly see to it that all the aspects are taken care of. So, any document to be considered as a proof, of course, there has to be witnesses. And in living will also, there has to be two witnesses, so that it will be clear that it is made by the same person, as well as it is the person has written not under any pressure or threat or anything from any to his family members. So it has to be signed by two impartial parties. Means your son and daughter should be informed, but their signatures just try to avoid. Now, there is one more aspect to signing, appoint a person who will sign as a witness. And in that case, many a times the mistake or the care is not taken, that we ask our close friend, oh, sign it on my living will. The friend, or maybe some you're near, you have good relations with one of your relatives, then you ask him to, you just sign because I have done it and you know that I want to do. But if your witness is of your age, and when the time comes, if he is not there because he is of your age, he may not be there when there is need to make use of your living will. So make sure to avoid that, make sure that the witnesses should be at least 15 to 20 years younger than you, because it makes sense when at the age of 70 or 75, and our experience nowadays in generally in our what you can say conceptually also, the we have to take it for granted that we are going to live for at least 90 years, not less than that. And if we have made a will at the age of 75 or 80, and when it comes to a situation when it has to be taken, has to be decision has to be taken, in that case, if the witness is of your age, he may not be there to say that this is the living will made by the person himself and I was there. So your witness should be at least 15 to 10 years younger than you. Then the copies to be given to the family members, close friends, persons, physicians, and directives. Here, I would like to specifically mention that when I say family members and close friends, I consider both are of equal value. Sometimes, not only for you, but for your son or daughter, your friend may be like his father or mother, or may have a very good relation with your friend. So it is very, very essential to give copies to your friends not only to your family members. Family members may not be in regular contact with you, but your close friends are generally are in contact with you. So take care that the copies also are given to friends. And if any of the friend is not aware of what you have done, and at 11th hour, if he passes very disturbing statement, then it becomes very difficult to fulfill your wish. So make sure that your friends and your brothers, sisters of your generation also should know that you have taken this decision. If possible, the directive means our living will. If you can incorporate, I find little bit complicated, but along with your will, if you attach copy of your living will to your will of property, it solves many problems, because after your death, when the question comes of dividing or using your will for property, then if it is with that, it becomes easier for all the members to understand that his death was normal, and in this case we should respect his wish. Now there may be a question that if I have a living will, does that mean I won't get treatment? It's human nature. When the decision regarding any serious matter is taken, we always are in double mind, whether we are doing good thing or whether you are doing right thing, or am I right when I say that whether with my living will there will be some problems with my close relatives. So it's common to have a dilemma that whether we should do or we should not do living will. And the next part of which is, sometimes we feel, or maybe once you cross certain limit, then there are many factors which affect your mind. Then you may at one point feel that, as I have mentioned, living will, as soon as I feel ill, they will hospitalize me, or they don't won't hospitalize me, and even if there are chances of surviving, they may not give me that proper medical treatment. That coming such thought in your mind is natural, but the main gist is, once you are in a position to talk, once you are positioned to say that I want this, I don't want this, then of course there is no question that one other person can take decision. So this one don't mean that no care. You will always get the comfort and service you require. So don't worry. It is you who are in a position to decide. You are the master of your own will. And when you don't have that capacity, or you don't, if you are not in that state of mind or physically, then of course you need not worry, because as it is, you are not aware, as it is, you don't know what is going on. So leave it. It just making living will is always good. Of course, this concept is now emerging, and people are started feeling that this is necessary. There are very few books on Indian context which will explain anyway the aging process, the research, and everything in India, because we don't take later half of our life very seriously. We just allow the time pass by. Therefore, there are very limited books or limited literature in Indian context about living will. But otherwise, for your reference, there are many books available in all leading shops, not in India, but online. You will get information about living will. Now, the most important thing, till now, we have discussed that the procedure of making living will, that what it is mean, what it means, what are the contents, what are the chances of fulfilling, then what is the procedure, what are the legal formalities, and all these things. But the actual process of doing the will is very challenging, and it has number of steps, and I have the experience, so I have decided to explain the process also in much detail. So, the first step in the process is, of course, who? You. It is up to you if you feel that I should think of my death. I should think of my dignity of life. I should think of end of life. I should think of your my relatives or my son or daughter because he or she has to take the decision. So the core part of this process is, of course, you. What you want, what you don't want, what you who will do that, how to go about everything. You have to decide. So first start thinking process after you cross 70, that what type of life I would be in after 10 years, after 20 years, after 25 years, and then you'll be able to decide what I want. It much depends on your present health also. That is most important thing. Your present health is very good and you don't have any such comorbidities, morbidities or anything, then naturally you don't think of your last days. But if you have some sort of weakness or some ailment or diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney and paralysis and all these things, then naturally you start thinking bit earlier. But still everyone should think. So you are the center point of making living will. Now, second, of course, are doctors, because doctors are the persons who are going to help you to fulfill your wish. So, in that case, doctors have to be consulted, have to be given copies to the doctors, and I am very fortunate to have interaction with very senior intensive care specialist, Dr. Shirish Prayag, and he has very uh, accurately expressed and explained the situation under which the decision to continue or not to continue the medical treatment is taken. I'll discuss this point in detail. And as I have mentioned, we, the group of like-minded people, which includes Vidya Taibar, Dr. Shirish Prayag, Asim Sarode, and Shubhada Joshi, and all others, we used to take seminars on end of life or talk shows on end of life. And all over Maharashtra, we have conducted such conferences, talk shows, and the 300, 400 members used to attend the workshops. So it was very, what you can say, different experience when there are people who are aware about of their wish how to die, and they used to raise many questions, and on the basis of that we have also created one documentary, that the first slide I have shown, that is Shevtacha Sukhantacha Vatadya, wherein this process has been explained in detail, and Shirish Prayag has explained the process very effectively. I'll let you know the details. So the second factor, of course, is doctors, because they are going to take the decision. They are going to take actual action. And that's why doctors also are very important. One more and very important point. Nowadays, we, particularly seniors, are very proud to say that I am 75 years old and I don't have visited doctors even for one time, because I am very healthy. And under such circumstances, there is no such doctor who is available to honor your will. In my active aging workshops, which I conduct, there is also this topic of living will, where I mention that even if you are not in a condition where you need doctor every day or your health is good, okay, fine. But still, you have to have rapport with any doctor which is close by your place. And if you have a minor what you can say cough or cold, do visit to him, do consult him, do have relation with him, because in case of need you want to write down something, and to whom to show it, to whom to ask it, to whom to consult it, you may not be able to do. So after 70, every senior has to have doctor in his or her contact list. That I must say, and I have experienced the incidences, as there is no doctor. If fortunately in a way, but unfortunately there is heart attack and you died at home, and then the question of giving death certificate arises, then you are left with no contact to whom to contact, and it becomes very, very difficult for other people to manage and or to complete the other procedures. So be sure that have contact with either one doctor, and generally with his close by and having good relation with him. So doctors is the second factor in fulfilling your living will. Then the third, I have not discussed this part in my earlier discussion, that whenever we say that we need to have a written wish and we need to communicate wish to all our close ones or our dear ones. But there are situations when we all who loved our senior person are there in a hospital, and I have learned many stories from intensive unit heads and all this, that when such moment comes to stop or to continue, then what type of discussions are going on and how hesitate people are to take the decision. To avoid that, the concept of executor, you must think. Executor is nothing but one of your close relative or one of your responsible close person uh, to whom you can give authority, that in case such decision is to be taken, and when, why, how, after what time, after how many days, everything, whatever are the details of your living will. So you have to designate the durable, means for longer period, power of attorney, that in case whatever I have written in my living will is to be put into practice, then who has the final authority? Whose words will be considered as final? And for that, like I have mentioned, that witnesses has to be younger than you. Same is the case with executor. It can be from your close family members, not third person. And say if you have a son and daughter, either son or daughter, or if you have someone which is taking your care of you, then maybe, because if you don't have son or daughter, then maybe nephew or maybe whoever maybe you feel like, or even sometimes who is staying with you, who is close to you, who have faith in you, if the other person has respect for you, you can appoint such person. And I can say that my guru, Kamaltai Padye, when she has decided to express her wish, I'll give you details later on, but then she expressed the wish that Rohini, you will take decision for me. So in that case, such a person who is close to you, who respects you, who knows you well, if he has given power to decide, then it becomes easy to put into practice, and there are chances that there will be no differences of opinion, because everyone knows that there's authority is given to a particular person. Last, of course, never at least, or is the society. Particularly, Indian society is such that they have strong common opinion. So if the decision of not giving medical treatment is taken, and if it is known to other circles, then the basic is, oh, he is looking after money. Oh, I thought that he'll do that thing because he don't want to spend money. He was just waiting for his death. That's why he stopped that. And people should not say all these things with the fear. Many a times the treatment continues for any longer time just because of the pressing or pressure uh, from the statement that what people will say, what people will think of, what people will think of me, that I am not giving decision. So in this case, I will request that society is in a way not going to pay money, nor is going to help you. So whenever you have making this written document, and whenever you are talking with your loved one, express them that I am not bothered whether society will accept my decision or not, or society will accept your decision or not, but it is my wish and you please fulfill my wish. That is why society is no doubt a factor which is not less important, but it needs to be reduced to its size so that it is we are able to fulfill our wish. Now, the process in detail. First of all, you have to follow 4 C's. What are those 4 C's? First, to communicate. To whom, as we are discussing so far, it is just summarizing the things that you have to communicate first to your family. Now, here, when we say family, there are layers of family. First, your spouse. If you are making will, such type of decision, then discuss first with your husband or with your wife, because they are the most what's to the central place, because after your death your better half is going to face the consequences, is to going to face the situation. So sometimes, with the fear that other member will not accept, many a times such will is not discussed with the other half, not discussed with the better half, and then the blame game may start. So first discuss, communicate, take opinion of your close family, your husband or wife, your son or daughter, and particularly your brothers and sisters, because you may feel, but they are the ones who are also included in the decision. So communicate with your family members. As I have mentioned, communicate with your friends, and thirdly, communicate with medical practitioners. Otherwise, there are chances are less to fulfill your wish. Then second process is rather the extension of the first process, and that we can say is you have to convince each and every party, because unless and until people are convinced, there are no chances that your wish will be fulfilled. What is the procedure? Clear doubts. If you say that I want to make a living will, then your close ones will say that, huh, hey, don't talk of such things. You are going to live for longer. I know that your health is so good that you will be there, and we will take whatever we want to. You need not worry. Don't worry about money. We are there, all sorts of things, but it won't work. So you have to strongly explain that it is better to make living will, not only from my point of view, but from your point of view also. So if you have any doubts in your mind that why I should make, why I should not make, or whatever may be, ask them that why you want me not to make such document. Then clear all doubts. Otherwise, it becomes just the mere writing, and fulfilling your wish may be far-fetched thing. Then secondly, you, as I have mentioned earlier, that executor is to be appointed, but it is not only executor to be appointed, you have to get consent of that person, that I feel that you take decision regarding my health, but whether he is okay with that, you have to find out, because it is not a simple responsibility. It has lot of emotional burden which one has to take. But still, regarding that person also, make it clear that why I am selecting you. What are your qualities which I feel that you'll be able to fulfill my wish? And then, if he is convinced, then only appoint him as executor without consent. First selection, then clearing of doubt. With his consent, then mention the name of executor. So convincing is also very important part of our document. The third, consult. Sometimes it may happen, I have experienced or such examples, that sometimes with some fight with the other members or some disturbing situations or death of close ones or something, people feel that, oh no, I don't want to live hereafter, and sooner the better, so I want to make my living will, and all sorts of things. All of a sudden it cannot happen. So you have to, if you have this wish in your mind, you have to contact your doctors and find out what is living will, and if doctors has to fulfill your wish, then what is the procedure. And in that case, the procedure is very, there are many aspects to that procedure. I'll discuss the procedure of consulting with doctors later on, before we discuss the next part, that is lawyers or bigger living will, the stress or the differences of opinion are created, then it becomes very challenging for rest of your family members to complete, and there are unnecessary misunderstandings, fights and everything. So just think of your situation after your death, and for that lawyers are better choice, because what will be the complications and all these things. So you have to consult your lawyers also. You have to consult your close friends also, that I want this to happen. Then whether my thinking is right or wrong, whether what I feel is correct or not, because only friends can give you the correct advice rather about what other people will think. Because if friends are not comfortable with the idea, then there are very less chances of other people will convince, or other people will approve your idea of living will. So it is always better, before finalizing the draft, to consult your friends, or sometimes we have faith in certain person. He may be our guru, or he may be a spiritual guiding force to you, or whoever may be, one who will be able to understand your feeling, and one who will be able to judge that your feelings are well thought of, or it is just the reactionary, because both possibilities are there. So it is better if you consult your close friend rather than consulting first with your relatives in under such circumstances. Or there are many what you can say friend philosopher type of relations we do have in our life. So you can discuss this point with him and try to find out whether the path you are taking is good or it is right, or need I is there need to correct my feelings or correct my decision or everything. And last but not the least, all roads lead to ultimately finance in many cases. Hospitalization, even if you are hospitalized for a normal illness for a week, then the bill is in lakhs of rupees. So end of life decisions, end of life situations are far more complicated, far more lengthy, and far more what you can say requiring various sources to check it out. And the most important source, of course, is finance. So if, for example, if you become ill, and when I consult, when I have dialogue with the seniors in my old age home or anywhere, and if this point is raised, then they say that, oh, don't worry, I have 10 lakhs of rupees and that will be sufficient for me for till end of my life. But we know that that 10 lakhs of rupees means just the hospitalization of maybe 15 days or 20 days or maybe a month. So you have to take call of your financial situation, if there is any use, and if there is chances of recovery, then it's good. But when there are very limited chances due to maybe your health status, maybe your complications, then you can even mention that how much amount is available for me after meeting my daily expenses, and whether that amount is sufficient, or sufficiency you cannot judge actually, but how much finance do I have to treat myself under such condition. So finance also is not less important, because if you are expecting that your next generation will take care of your finance, It is not always true. There are many factors to it. We need not discuss those factors here because this is altogether different aspect as such. So financial consultants also need to be consulted because you have to decide your financial position and the duration or the nature of treatment under such circumstances. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, that doctors, because finally, here are the doctors who are going to take action about your living will. And what Dr. Shirish Prayag has very well explained, he has explained that whenever such situation arises, then the main criteria would be futility factor. Futility factor means with this medical treatment, whether the person will be in better health or not, or status quo, whatever may be the case, it is considered as futility factor. There are basically two aspects of this futility factor. As I have discussed that end of life group and the members you are seeing over here, he has discussed, I am explaining you in a very simple language. Actually, it is a complicated situation, but just to give you an idea about how the decision is taken, I am mentioning this to you. uh, End of life decision is taken, and there are broadly two categories. The first category is known as withdrawal of the treatment or withdrawal of the whatever treatment is going on. Patient, if patient is admitted and treatment has started, but after some days or after certain duration, the stage comes to decide how long we are going to do that. And as and when the machines will be removed, the patient will be no more. See, three aspects. The patient is admitted and treatment has started. There is a stage when such thoughts start peeping in our mind, that how long we are going to do that, how long this status quo will be there. And third factor, if we have using machines to keep the patient at this status quo, then if the machines are removed, then the patient will be no more. Such chances are there. If such chances are there, if such feeling is there in the minds of doctors as well as in the minds of the person who is taking care of him, under such circumstances, if requested by the relatives, then doctors, after explaining effects of all this procedure, can withdraw life support system. And that is known as withdrawal, because system has started and we are withdrawing it, and we are helping him to breathe last in a calm state. Now the second situation, that is known as withholding. If admitted person becomes serious, where at the time when he has admitted in the hospital, he is at certain state, and thereafter his condition becomes serious, then the question of life supporting arises. Means if there is need to fit the feeding tube, or if there is need to put him on ventilator, that means he is admitted in the hospital, and now the stage has come that if we want to help him, then supporting life supporting systems are to be started. And if relatives are of the opinion rejecting the treatment, that they say that he has mentioned, here comes the question of living will, particularly if he has mentioned that if I am in such a condition at such stage, then don't put me on ventilator, or don't put feeding tube to feed me. If he has mentioned, then the relatives may reject and say that we don't want such type of treatment. and such request by the relatives can be taken into consideration. And doctors will not start the treatment, means withhold the treatment. The doctors will not start put him on respirator or on ventilator or something, then doctor withhold the treatment. In that case, after proper documentation, after taking consent of all the concerned parties, the treatment is withheld, which is known as withholding of life support. So these are the two broad ways, and to my capacity, I am not a medical practitioner. To my capacity, I have tried to explain you. But if there is some shortcomings, or if there is something which is not clear, I apologize for this. It is just the guideline I am providing. I am not making a foolproof statement, but these are the ways and these are the means through which such aim can be attained. So in that case, doctors may help you to breathe, have a peaceful death. Now we have so far studied C's as well as executor, doctors, everything. What happens, that if you have that thought in mind, then you are able to convince all the stakeholders. Then you have consulted the doctor, then you have executor, and if you have the feeling now, whoosh, whatever I want to mention, whatever I want to put on record, whatever I want to say, I have said. And to my satisfaction, all the factors, relatives, friends, doctors, lawyers, financial experts are uh, okay with my idea. So naturally person tends to relax. Okay, let it be. Now I have done and it is really a tiring process. It is really a challenging process. It is emotionally draining you out. I can understand. So once you have achieved your 90% of the part, and then you relax and you say that, okay, tomorrow I'll get up and write it down. Then tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and as we say, tomorrow never comes, and all of a sudden incident happens, and whatever process you have done, there is no possibility of fulfilling it, and all efforts go in vain. So I suggest that if you are passing through this process, then write down it as early as possible. Take a piece of
Dr.
paper, because
Patwardhan,
huh?
sorry to disturb you, but ma'am, it's 5:35. So can you please wrap up in
Yes, it's last
Thank
slide,
you.
sir. Within 5 minutes, I have clock in front of me.
Great, great. Okay,
Uh,
thank you, ma'am.
so write down as early as possible, so that your process will be completed. Then once you start writing and you thought of witnesses XYZ, and he is not available, she is not available, so make sure that witnesses are there, get signature of the executor. And the most important thing is prepare copies and take action and distribute the copies to the respective persons, because I have many cases known to me that I know that a person is of that opinion, but actually when it comes to practice, when it comes to writing down, they fail, and the whole process is then fruitless in that case. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, त्या भीतीवर people will say. I will just mention two important cases which will give you idea that if you have a wish, that there are chances of fulfilling. Two incidents are first of my guru, Kamal Pathe. She was a wife of Prabhakar Padye, the renowned thinker, and she is a social activist. And after death of Prabhakar Padye, I used to look after her at my age of 25. So after his death, when after 5 6 years, she called me, and her family doctor, Dr. Subhash Kade, and asked us and explained to us in front of both the parties. She said that, Rohini, you are going to take care, you are going to take decision, but doctor, you are going to take final call. If you refuse, then Rohini will have a misunderstanding, and if Rohini refuse, then doctor will say that why she says that she'll take care and how she is behaving. So she has mentioned in very clear cut words that doctor, it is my wish that don't put me on any artificial support system. Second case is of my own mother, Pramila Patwardhan. After celebration of her Sahasra Chandra Darshan, when all people are there, all were happy, everyone has enjoyed. At that gesture, she has mentioned that I have lived my full life. I have no wish left. So even if I fail ill, don't hospitalize me at all. Do give treatment, whatever treatment you want to give, whatever is possible when I am at home, and don't admit me in the hospital, don't give me any artificial help. And I am telling this because I have lived full life, and you all close ones are with me, so don't blame my daughter or son. This is my wish. So it can be even then. Kamal Padhyay's case was in 1996 and my mother died in 2006, 2006. So both have displayed the example of how living will can be put into practice because they can think of their death. So these are the examples which you can say that the real heroes who can think ahead of time. Legal status in short. Next. Next.
Any
In that
questions,
case,
possible?
hmm,
I
legally,
just want to know, do you have to register this bill?
just a minute, just a minute. I'll finish this and I'll let you. Law Commission under the amendment of 241 mentioned that irreversible coma, unsoundness of mind and vegetative state, if it is there, doctors can take decision. Again, I'll remind you, it has been mentioned by Advocate Asim Sarode, who is the constitutional consultant, human rights lawyer and socio-legal practitioner. He was one of the important member of our group. So it is one legal aspect that there is possibility of fulfilling legally also, and there are many more details, but this is not the platform to discuss in detail. So the next is on 10th October 2017, Supreme Court has reserved the verdict on living will case and directed government to pass the directive principles regarding this matter. But as it has the ball is in the court of government, there is no development till now. But we were actively the part of this process, and the only thing I can say that because of this document, living will can be made is only cleared, but other procedure is very complicated and it needs special session by the lawyer also. But just to cover legal aspect, I have mentioned this. So these are the things, and I have mentioned this format also in my book आपल्यासाठी आपणच and आनंदस्वर ज्येष्ठांसाठी. It covers under the entire topic is covered under gerontology, and these are the subjects under gerontology which one can study. In nutshell, you can do a will not merely for the property but also for end of life decision as living will or advance medical directives. Living will is different from will. It is not part of your will. It contains your wishes about the life sustaining medical treatment you want or you don't want, but we rarely talk about death. And this is the situation of our population in India, that the growth rate of elderly population is more rapid in developing countries like India than developed countries. It is only since the last century that sizable proportion of population has survived to experience old age. Apart from demographic transition, socio-economic and political changes together with the increased individualism have altered the living conditions of the elderly. These are my activities which I conduct: the training, one act play competition, participative training, Jeshtotsav, all these activities which I conduct. I sensitize about body donation also, and there is very good organization in Dombivli working under the Dhichi Mandal, and it is very seriously working organization. And this is the documentary which we have prepared on living will, which will clear many doubts and which will provide you very good background about what living will is and what are the other factors of living will. It's very useful documentary which we have created through the help of Sahyog Trust by Asim and Rama Sarode. This is my old age home where 40 people old age right from 53 to 98 are happily staying. This is our member of trustee of my organization, Pramodini Padke Kavale, Dr. Dilip Patwardhan, Meenakshi Dongre, who is the treasurer, and I. We look after the entire functioning of this social organization. My staff is experienced. We do have sessions in yoga daily and evening. The campus is beautiful. I have also discussed this issue with the seniors who have settled in US, and it was very lightning sessions for me, but the details I'll share some time later. These are the many feedbacks are there, but this is just the one that people are happy and they like the my old age home. They are living very happily. My list of thank you is little bit longer because for me there was no printed material is available. I tried to read persons, seniors, and from that I could be able to gain my knowledge. So it is my source of inspiration, source of knowledge. So Sahyog Trust, my old age home, thousands of participants of Jeshtotsav and training, my mentor Dr. Eshi Bapat, my parents particularly for allowing me to devote my life for seniors, Loksatta Chaturanga Puravani, Madhuri, Reshma and Dipti, organizers of course of technical team of our ILCI, and we have a very good team who are engaged in conducting all such activities. So now the session is open for question answer if you would like to.
Thank you, Dr. Patwardhan. Captain Haridas, I request you to kindly ask the question.
The first question is this will to be registered?
No, registration, doctors don't means registration is not compulsory. Living will registration procedure is not available. It is just a written document and it has to be shared with your loved one. It is not a legal documents which can be registered till now, but there it is in process. But the process is very complicated. If you watch that video documentary, Asim Sarode has explained it very well. You will come to know more details and you can contact him also if you want to know the legal status of living will.
And second question is, or other request is that, can you share your contact details? I got an organization called Joy Club. Joy stands for Just Older Youth.
Okay.
So we have this motto is to how to enjoy retired life and age gracefully. The topic and the type of work you're doing is very useful to us for more interaction and some sort of sessions for us. So
I'll ask organizers to share my details because they are with him. You can surely share. Yashoda, you can share it to those who want to.
Thank you, Dr. Rohini. It was a very wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for joining. Yes. Any other questions? Please raise hand or tell me. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Dr. Kanagasabhai. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Rohini. Good presentation. If I'm permitted to add, I've also been doing the sessions on living will for a number of occasions. I am passionate about living will. I'm basically a doctor doing this job. But the executors, he told, executors will be three executors. We call as power of attorneys or surrogate markers. These people should be three in numbers. There should be three numbers because one appoint, if you appoint, As you already told in your speech, somebody is younger or he dies off, he's not available in town, or he's sick. We'll have
Good.
other alternatives. So the top priority is given to the first person, then second priority to the second person, third priority to the third person. And they don't work as a team. So they have three executors.
It's really useful.
Healthcare power of attorney.
It makes
And
sense.
this living will is being executed by Western countries even for 4 decades. As early as 4 decades, it's back itself. They have started living will. And India, in Kerala, some parts of Kerala, they are adopting it. Overall, it's a wonderful presentation. Good luck, doctor.
Thank you so much.
I would like to mention that Dr. Kanagasabai has given on the same topic, he has given the wonderful presentation. And thank you for just joining. Sir,
No, being a doctor, his presentation would have been much more meaningful. I am a gerontologist, so my aspects are different.
Both of you actually covered the topic because we want to highlight the need of the topic. That's why we are keeping the sessions on the same topic. Yes, thank you. Okay, any other questions?
This is Suhas Paranjape.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I already made my living will, and when I gave it to my lawyer for registering it, he said they don't register these types of documents.
No, not registered.
It is confirmed that it cannot be registered.
It cannot be registered because legally it has to be proved, no? And by 10 October 17, there is copies are available online. There are too many factors considered. The process is too lengthy. Then it's not legal document as yet.
It is basically your near ones agreeing to what you say. It is basically your near ones who are going to execute.
Of course, and doctors, particularly doctors, because like Shirish Prayag or some other doctors who are generally in charge of intensive care unit, no, they know all these dilemmas and they are more aware of the situations under which such decisions are to be taken. So intensive care units, heads of hospitals are in a better position actually to explain more details how it can be executed.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Okay, last 2 questions. Anyone? Okay. Perhaps are done. Okay, Anjali ma'am, I request you because we are running short of time. Anjali ma'am.
I hope I have not exceeded. No.
No. It's okay. Raza ma'am, for the final comments. Yes.
First of all, thank you, Rohini, for this wonderful presentation. It was very relevant, highly pertinent, and very important, I think. And the difference that you pointed out between euthanasia and living will, I think that has cleared, I'm sure, confusing with living will. So we are really happy about that. You described very detailed and complex how to go about making the living will. For example, the simple tip that you mentioned, that share this living will not only just with your children, but with your siblings, your sister, brothers, friends, whatever close relatives, so that they are aware of this living will. Kind of misconceptions that might exist around the children when you are not in a position to make a decision. So I think that point was also very well taken. The concepts of futility factor and the difference between withdrawal of treatment and withholding of treatment, that has also been very vividly explained. I think in short, as Kanagasa Bhai and your presentations have really kind of covered extensively really living will, which is the need of the hour, I think, for most seniors.
Correct.
We're trying to highlight that, we're trying to advocate that, so that there's no ill will or nothing.
Misunderstanding.
We hope that we have been portray this to all our seniors. Thank you so much, Rohini, for having.
Thank you. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to share my practical experiences.
Yes. Captain Haridas, I request you to kindly share your number to either on my personal thing or maybe yes, and then we'll close the session. Okay, so you're muted. I think I'll close the session and then talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just
So, yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, seniors, for joining us. I want to thank Dr. Rohini Patwardhan ma'am for taking time out and being here with us today. I want to officially thank our sponsors, Gharda Chemicals Ltd, for their support, and thank you, team, for being here. Thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.